Okay, welcome back. So the next part we're going to look at is part 2 here. It says, interest amounting to €90 charged to a customer's overdue account. So we sometimes charge interest to our debtors if they're very slow in paying their debt. So that means if we charge interest, they owe us even more money. So interest charged to a customer's overdue account had been posted to the interest account as 110. So straight away that's a mistake, and it's a mistake in the interest account, which is one of your accounts in the general ledger, so it has an effect on the debtor's control account. So we're going to have to fix the debtor's control account because of that. Following a complaint by the customer, this was reduced to €40. This reduction had not been entered in the books. So this reduction was not entered anywhere in the books, so that's a mistake both in the interest account, which should have been changed because of the reduction, but also it's going to be a mistake in the debtor's account because it wasn't entered in anywhere in the books in the debtor's account either. So that's something that will have an effect on our schedule of debtors. So we're going to have to change both parts of our question. So let's look at first of all the interest account in the general ledger. So again, if I just create an interest account, okay, and we'll treat it like a minus plus because it's interest that we're charging our debtors, okay, and so I suppose if you think of it like a gain, because you're gaining money because you're charging them interest, interest amounting to €90 charged to a customer's overdue account have been posted to the interest account as 110. So as I say, I put in the mistake first in a different color pen, so it was put as 110 in the interest account. So it should increase the amount they owe you. So they put it on the right side, we assume, but they put in the wrong amount. So to fix that, first of all, to bring it back down to 90 only, we have to minus 20. So if I put in 20 on this side with my black pen, this is the stuff I'm doing, then that fixes that first problem. Now, that was only in the interest account. The problem was they don't mention anything about the debtor's account, so that's fine, that's done. Following a complaint by the customer, this was reduced to €40 and this reduction had not been entered in the books. Okay, so what we want now is the interest account to be plus 40. At the moment, it's plus 110 minus 20, it's plus 90. So to get from a plus 90 to a plus 40, because we reduced the interest to 40, we have to reduce it by 50. So we must put another 50 in the minus side. So I suppose I like to circle these things. Whatever you change, that's what you're going to put into your adjusted debtors control account. So to fix the interest account, we first of all had to put 20 in here to bring that down to 90. And then we had to put another 50 in here to bring it down to 40 because we didn't want to charge them as much as 90 interest. So we changed it to only charging them 40. So this is the amount that goes to your debtors control account. 20 and 50 is 70. But if it's 70 on this side, then it's got to be put on the opposite side of the control account. So if we go back to our control account, and it's going to be 70 on the opposite side, and we're going to call it interest because it came from the interest account. Okay. And the next thing then that we need to do, and I suppose by right I should say here as well, is when we're doing these, we should say which part of the question these are coming from, just because you could have two separate mistakes, interest related mistakes, and just to show that this is your answer for part 2 and another one might be your answer for part whatever the other part could be. Okay, so that's that fixed. But as we said, there is going to be a problem in the schedule of debtors as well. So in the schedule of debtors, it says, following a complaint by the customer, this was reduced to 40. This reduction had not been entered in the books. So the reduction was not entered in the books. So I like to do this by saying, well, hold on now. If originally the 90 was entered correctly in our debtors account, what did it do to our debtors account? Let's just go for debtors here. Debtors plus minus. And originally the interest of 90 was put in correctly, so I'm just going to put in what they did here, even though it's not a mistake, but it's what they did. It increases the amount owed by your debtors, 90. Now then we decided to reduce that interest bill to 40, so we want to bring down our debtors amount by 240 by 50, so we have to put 50 in the minus side. So what that means for your schedule of debtors is you want to reduce or deduct your total amount owed to you by debtors to the tune of €50. So interest, and it was part 2, wasn't it? And if we put the deduct column, just if we have 2 columns here, we put the 50 in here. We're going to tally it once we have a few more entries, and we'll put a total over here. Okay, so that's part 2. Okay, so on to the next part. Part 3 says cash sales 1600 and credit sales 820 had both been entered by Forrester on the credit side, or the credit of the customer's account. So this is something you did to the customer's account. It makes no mention of anything in the general ledger, so we assume that everything was okay in the general ledger and we don't have to do anything to our debtor's control account. But the customer, when they talk about the customer's account, they're talking about the debtor's account. So sometimes they'll call it like a customer's account or a debtor's account or client's account maybe. It's the person who's buying stuff off you. So the debtor's account, here's what they did. Let's just write it in first. So part 3, I'm going to call this the debtor's account. And remember again, it's plus minus. I'm going to leave out the debit credit. So what happened was you had cash sales 1600 entered on the credit side of the customer's account. So what they did was they put 1600 on the credit side. So debit, credit. They put that in there for cash sales. Now, hold on a second. If somebody, a debtor's account is a record of all the money that a debtor owes you. If somebody comes in and pays cash for something they buy from you, then they don't owe you any more and they don't owe you any less. If they've paid straight away, it has no effect on what they owe you. So it shouldn't even be entered in the debtor's account. There should be no cash sale entry in the debtor's account. So if we want to fix that, first of all, because it should never have been put in there, we're going to have to put 1600 on the plus side. Because we put 1600 on the minus, these will cancel each other out. It'll be like we did nothing in the first place. Okay, that's the first thing. The next thing it said was credit sales 820 had been entered on the credit side of the customer's account. So let's do that. Credit sales 820. Now, credit sales do go into a debtor's account because when you sell something on credit to your debtor, then the amount they owe you goes up. They owe you more money when they take goods and they say, I'll pay you later. They owe you, in this case, 820. Now, the only thing is, though, if they owe you 820 more, it should be increasing the amount that's owed to you. So they've put that on the wrong side. So if we want to fix that for a start, we want to take away what they've done. We've got to put a plus 820, and that brings everything back to 0, if you like. That plus cancels that minus. But that credit sale figure should have gone into the debtor's account. So we don't want it to be just 0 balance in the debtor's account. We want it to be a plus 820. So we must put in another 820 here to fix that problem. So in total, we've put these 3 things in. This is what we did. And whatever we did then, we have to take these workings and we've got to put them into our schedule of debtors on the next page. So altogether, what's that? 8 and 8, 1640, isn't it? So 3240 it looks like. 240. And it's on the plus side of the debtors. It's increasing the amount owed. So we go to our schedule of debtors and we go to the add part. And we say, what was it? It was for sales, wasn't it? And it was part 3. And we'll put it up here. What did we say it was? 3240, wasn't it? 3240. Okay.